All right, all y'all. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Dr. Brett Brimhall. I'm in the Phoenix area, and I'm excited to be here, but here for a couple of reasons. I want you guys to think about what you woke up thinking about today. What was the biggest concern on your mind, and um, what is your biggest concern going into this next year? And I know for me personally, I typically wake up thinking about my children and where they are in their life. And then as a dad, I think about where as are their finances and where are my finances? Is everybody healthy? Is everybody happy? And everybody safe? That's kind of where it comes down to. And I think that probably resonates with a lot of us. And we're going to talk about tonight some things that are super important to me, and I hope to you. And I want you guys to understand that the state of the world we're in right now, there's a lot of people out there that are struggling from major health issues, um, for in relationships, looking for a community to be a part of, and they're also looking for ways to make sure they support their family. And we're going to kind of touch on all those, but I want to kind of bring it full circle. I'm a chiropractor, and I've been in practice almost 26 years. I've been teaching and training physicians for close to 30. And I don't know of anything else other than healthcare. That's just what I grew up with. And 11 years ago, I had a major shift in my life where I was working with a little boy, his diagnosis with autism. But what it looked like is this mom brought him into me and traveled an hour each way to come see me, which was not unusual. And she was spending an hour at a time with me to work with her son and her. And she was on top of that doing 35 hours of other therapy. Now, her main focus was to get this little guy where could be successful in life. What that looked like at the time when I first started seeing him, he was 3, still in diapers, still bottom of his class, and just getting ready to start his second year in preschool, and struggling in every way with behavior, with learning, every part. They actually had to leave him at home while they took the other one to Disneyland because there's too much stimulus. He couldn't handle it. And they had changed their whole world to try to adapt to this little guy. So I worked with him every week for a year and did everything that we do with a system called the 6 steps of wellness. So we treat the worst of the worst. People would come to us when they've been everywhere else. And we were making small little changes with him because we were doing everything that we knew. And so we took him off. We made him fun free. What I mean by that, we took him off gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, removed all the electronics we possibly could to try to remove the stimulus where we could. And then we gave him all the supplementation we could on top of doing detox therapy with him. And he was making changes enough such that he started to realize that he was different in the sense of like his brother was with straight A's, didn't have to go to all these other therapy appointments, and he had to go to the doctor docs all the time. And his own little broken language, he told his mom, like, I just want to be smart like my brother. Now that broke my heart as a dad because as a dad, I would do anything for my 4 children, and I was doing everything I could with this little guy, and he was still just painfully slow. It's like his brain just couldn't retain information. Well, shortly thereafter, the company Lifevantage, who his mom was a part of this company, developed a drink called Axial. Now, when I looked at the ingredients, like I did, like most of us do when I look at products, and I looked at the ingredients and I said, that doesn't look very special to me. And it's being used as a healthy energy drink. I'm like, well, let's give a hyper 4-year-old now at the time an energy drink. And in my mind, like, as soon as I said it, I'm like, well, what do we give people that can't focus or can't concentrate? Well, we give them stimulants in medicine, or they find their own stimulants, whether from a not so good place. Well, thank goodness his mom had read some of the research and heard the doctor talk about it. This little guy started the Axial, and 11 days later, he came to my office, and he did something never done before. He sat still for the first time. Sat still in my office. I was able to have a conversation with him. With a conversation at that point, I asked him a question, and he returned the answer correctly, and went back into his therapy without being prompted to. It's like everything we'd been teaching him was there. He just couldn't get it out and couldn't integrate it. Now, that shocked me because we hadn't done anything different. And the only thing I knew that was different was his mom had given him. And I remember his mom coming in the next visit because his dad brought him in that visit. And she said, I'm like, I don't understand why Luke's that much better. His verbal skills over 50% improved in a matter of 11 days. We didn't change anything. What is this drink? And she asked me this question. She said, well, what are you doing a week from today, which was Thursday? She said, why don't you fly with me to South Dakota in October, which is like right around Halloween, which is cold. I don't do cold. I'm in Arizona, and meet the scientists develop the drink. That was the beginning for me of understanding what we're going to talk about tonight, which is activation. Now, when I went there, I started to understand that there was a different way of making products that we could turn on cellular switches that we thought were dormant. I thought they couldn't be turned on because we were giving them all the right nutrients to be able to be turned on. and perform better. But yet this little guy with that little difference in that drink, that was the beginning for him. Where he now, at 6 months after that, the time he started it, he was retested instead of bottom of his class, to be the top of the class and being used as a peer model. 6 months after that, he started in normal school, no diagnosis, no extra time in class. And to this day, now this is 10 years later, he's a freshman in high school and excelling because his brain is now activated. Now, we're not talking about autism, we're not talking about ADD, ADHD. I'm talking about how you feel right now, the energy you have, the quality of sleep you enjoy, the way in which your body heals and repairs with the insults of life is dependent upon how activated it is. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple concepts. I'm going to share my screen, and I wanted you to hear a couple stories about real life people and how this has affected them. All right. So we are what we call the activation company. Now, if that may not mean anything to you yet, but it will shortly. Let me move my screen so I can just a second. Behave yourself. Okay. Activation simply means absence of deactivated. So you remember having a low battery and how your body, how your equipment to perform. Imagine your cells being deactivated, not doing what they're designed to do because they're overwhelmed. That's what deactivation. So activation looks like you healing and repairing the way you should. Now, I'm going to show a very short clip of a video, and I want you to watch this later. I want you to listen to the first few words of this. This is an ABC primetime that was aired clear back in 2005. Remember, we're 20 years later. And I want you to go back. I'm going to kind of fill in the gaps in this video because I want to spend the time watching it here. But I want you to watch it later, because if what we're saying is real, this could vastly impact your health and your family's health and your children's and grandchildren's health in a way that we need to know, especially in the day and age we live. So let's watch just a small portion of that.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough.
Okay, now I'm going to let you watch the rest of that because I want you to watch a full 20 minutes. But the way he started that, it's a potential breakthrough. Now, this is 20 years later. There's been over 30 published studies on the product that he talks about. And in the video, it shows his blood work, which they're measuring a specific thing called oxidative stress, was reduced by 45% in 2 weeks. Now, what does that mean for him? He didn't feel like he had a problem. But if oxidative stress is left unchecked, it's linked to over 200 human diseases. So later on, go to a place called PubMed, PubMed.gov, type in oxidative stress and any health condition you've ever been concerned about, anything your family history has that you don't want to get, and see if they're related. I would bet you probably 99% of the things that you look up will be related to oxidative stress. If we don't address oxidative stress, we will develop the things that our parents did, and sometimes things they didn't develop sooner than they did. Now, that's not a scare. It's just understanding that our systems are underneath more stress now than they were based on just the environment alone, let alone the demands we place on ourselves, than even 10 or 15 years ago. And that's turning into chronic disease in younger and younger individuals. And every single person on the planet has that problem. So when this was developed, this product they're talking about in 2005 is when it aired. It changed the game in what is possible for human health. There's now a 10-year study showing that particular product called Protandim Nerve 2 extends the lifespan in animals by 7%, which would equal to us in 5 human years. Multiple studies across multiple countries, multiple universities. Now, I want you to read the research later, but what I've learned is research is great and all, but what happens in a human? So keep in mind, I've been in practice working with my dad since I was about 14. I'm 51 now. I've been around watching people get well or not get well and always striving to figure out why can't we get them better than they are. And I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine. Her name is Eileen. And Eileen is somebody that I've worked with for a long time, like probably close to 16 years now plus. She's kind of raised me. But we did everything we possibly could for her and her daughter with what's called supplementation. So again, we made them fun-free, took all the stuff out of their world that was problematic, and then we added in all the supplements that we possibly could and detox therapies. And I wanted her to kind of share her story, what it looked like from what her body was to where it is now once we added in what's called activation. So Eileen, if you would, I'd appreciate you just kind of unmute yourself, kind of share your story of both Nicole as well as yourself. And mind you, when I found out about this, I called people that I called my problem children, people that I had worked with super hard and not gotten the results that they had searched for and prayed for. And I said, well, if this is real, let's try it on people that are the most difficult. And so Eileen was one of the most difficult. I mean that in a nice.
Yes, yes. So thanks, Brett. So, you guys, thanks so much for having me here tonight. I am really grateful to be here, and especially in this capacity, because what I'm going to share with you is first what happened this weekend. I had my two grandbabies sleep over. They are 4 and 1.5. We painted, we played, we cooked, we ate, we went to the park. I put them in and out of their car seats, and we made a gingerbread house. Now, for some of you, that might be okay, that's just like a typical grandma. But for me, it is one of the greatest miracles of my life. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't get emotional yet. But there was a time when I was propped up on a couch with a pillow in my arm to hold my niece's brand new baby. In case that baby moved, someone needed to be there to be able to protect the baby because I wasn't able to even hold a baby. And I didn't know what my future would look like, especially for grandchildren. But this is my reality. I remember thinking, I will never lift my grandbabies. I will never be able to get on the floor and play. And I will never be able to have a baby sleep over under my care. That chapter of my life is over, thank heavens. And this is what's happening now is when I became a mother, my most important thing to me was to be a great mom, of course. But then I also look forward to having the grandbabies because everyone said that was the cream of the crop, which it is. But the thing was, I wanted to create memories. I didn't want to watch from the sidelines. I'm now 58 years old, and this was the life I'm living that I didn't know I could have. And let me explain why. Because the reality is, when I was 30 years old, after the birth of my third child, I went blind for the first time. And then I was on this roller coaster of up and down and in and out of hospitals, in and out of wheelchairs. I was bedridden for a year. I would lose my speech. I mean, just crazy, crazy things. And my children didn't have a mom all that time. Some of that time, they were being the mother to me, these little kids. And then I found myself ending up on chemotherapy, living on a couch, doing one task at a time. And I was grateful for that because the roller coaster had ended. And that took quite a few years to come to that conclusion. I was doing $1,000 of supplements a month retail between my daughter and I because I skipped over the part where my daughter was having failure to thrive. And it took a few years before she was diagnosed autism. And so we were doing her bucket load of supplements and mine, just doing our best just to survive. And so what I found myself doing is I was going into a lot of debt with flying around the country looking for any glimpse of hope from anybody who could give me an idea of what they could do to help me. I was having doctor visits with Dr.Brett 1 to 3 times a week. I would see specialists, insurance battles, and it was the copays and everything else that was just putting us under. And after a while, I didn't see a way out. And then I was finally given the diagnosis that actually told me my life would be shortened. And I remember feeling relieved. And as crazy as that sounds, it's because I didn't want to be a burden on my family. I didn't want to hold them back from having their best lives and experiences. But this, like Dr. Brett had just said, in October of 2014, after he came back from South Dakota, I was 47 years old. My daughter was 17, and disease had racked my body. But I saw that ABC prime time, and believe me, I was 100% skeptical. But when I saw that blood work that Dr. Brett mentioned, I was like, what if? What if that is 10% true? And so my daughter went on it, and I went on it, and we started activating our bodies. And what we found is that 90% of our supplements had disappeared. We just didn't need them anymore. Appointments disappeared. Crisis mode disappeared. And our bodies just needed the support. And for me, activating gave me mobility, energy, mental clarity, and most importantly, hope. For my daughter, it improved her communication, a stronger, more resilient body, fewer illnesses, and this is huge, especially for autism, reduced anxieties and fears, and a better all quality of life. And financially, the appointments stopped, the debt stopped growing, and we were able to come out of that debt because of getting healthy. Because we had done all the detoxes, we had done the environmental cleaning, we had done that, and it did not push me to the point of having an incline on my health. It was keeping me above water. So now what I've learned is this, is there is a compounding effect. And Lifevantage has come out with multiple activators, and as each one has been introduced, I've been able to go on them, and so has my daughter. And we've introduced this to nieces and nephews with other challenges. And we have watched people get better and better and better. It's a compounding effect. And the thing is if I hadn't gotten better from 2 years in of being on just two products, I would have been thrilled with the quality of life I had. Where I am today, 11 years later, blows my mind because I used to think there was a ceiling. There was a ceiling to your diagnosis. There was a ceiling to your capabilities of autism diagnosis or an autoimmune disease. But what I've come to learn is that when the body is empowered through activation, it gets better and it gets better and better. And so I get to live my best life. I get to be here for my grandbabies. They get to sleep over. We get to play. I get to be the grandmother I wanted to be. And so, Brett, if I've left anything out, please cue me. But anyway, that's my story. And I'm so grateful for activation and what it's done for us.
Eileen, I appreciate you so much hopping on here. And it's, I mean, that's a story played 20 plus years in the making. But the difference in what happened when your body was activated and really what we thought, I didn't even know was possible that your body could be in a state where it is now. But it's just what you're telling me about what you did the last weekend with those grandbabies. What an amazing thing that I didn't know would ever be possible for you. So grateful that you get that. And thank you for sharing that with all of us. What I want to do, guys, is kind of touch a little bit on the science part, but I want you to know these are real people that have had real challenges that, this could possibly be something that would impact you. So let me go through a little bit of the science for you, just so you have a little bit of understanding of what this is doing and why. And if you want more detail, great, we'll give you a lot more detail. So you got to go watch that on your own. So this is the product that I learned about called Protandim Nerve 2. And when I looked at it again, I looked at the ingredients. They don't look that unique. You might have heard of something like turmeric and green tea and milk thistle and ashwagandha. It's not so much about what's in it. It's how it's created, how it's tested. So with the Human Genome Project, we understand the genetic code now. Now, most products aren't tested to look at how it affects the human genome or the genetic code. So all of us have a certain capacity to heal and repair. But is that turned on to the level that it can be? Now, when this particular switch, called the NR2 switch, it regulates the production of enzymes called glutathione, which you've probably heard about. When people take Protandim Nerve 2, it increases your body's ability to produce those enzymes. Because how you're healing right now, how fast you control an inflammatory cascade, has to do with how many enzymes your body can produce on the daily. All right, now how much stress you're underneath. So we know that when you take this, it increases those enzymes, some by 300%, some by 30%, up to 40 on average 40% in 30 days, up to 70% in 3 months. Now that's significant, and they want to know, well, what's the long-term benefit? That's where the 10-year study came in, and none of these studies were funded by the company that made it. These are independent studies being done to validate what actually happens in the humans. Now, people will say all the time, well, which one of those herbs is the one that does it? Well, it's not just the herb, it's the combination. To give you perspective of the power of this is that in order to equal the power in one pill of Protandim where your body actually makes its own enzyme, you'd have to have 400 oranges in a day or 100 cups of blueberries. I don't know about you, but that's a ton of fruits we can never get in our body because the power within the body is much more power than the power with outside the body. And when the body can make something, it can regulate it. So this now we have the capacity to turn those switches on because the products are tested and looked for, hey, are there specific pathways or assembly lines in the body we can activate? The one that controls inflammation or oxidative stress, it's the NRF2 pathway. That's what protandim NRF2 does. And if you want to know the study behind it, you can take the individual ingredients. People always ask, well, can I go buy it? Yeah, great, try it. And maybe you have tried some of those different ingredients. It's about the combination of the ingredients and the ratios in it that have the effects. Well, they actually did that study, wanted to know that. Is it just one of those herbs? No. When you look at the individual ones, they increase the enzymes a little bit, but when you combine them, it's 18 times greater than the individual parts together because it turned on the switch. You think about like a key, a lock and a key. A lot of keys look the same, but you have to have the right key for the right thing. This is the key that regulates the key process in the body that allows your body to make these antioxidant enzymes. Now, they've applied that same technology to other systems. I'm only talking about a couple of them. But what we say here at Lifevantage is very unique. We take it to make it. This isn't about giving you the ingredients. This is about turning the cellular switches on. The body has the magic in it, but the switches have to be turned on. So when we switch changing things with Eileen and her daughter, we were able to turn the switches on instead of just giving ingredients, and the difference was magical. Now, there's a couple key pathways we're going to talk about, and if you want the science, that are great. But people don't always feel oxidative stress. So to tell people understand that story, they might wonder, do I need it? Because right now, I'm sure a lot of us are like, how many, like throw in the chat a one if you're taking something for something. Maybe you're taking an enzyme or a probiotic, or maybe you're taking an antioxidant. Like how many of you are taking something hoping for something? And a lot of times it's not even for a specific problem. You're just trying to do the best you can. Well, one of those most common things people take is collagen. And it's such a huge deal because nobody I know wants to age fast, other than if they have no health. Like what Eileen said, I didn't want to live long because I don't want to be a burden. Well, if we can turn on these cellular switches on, there are going to be a lot of people that could want to live and will live a better life. So Lifevantage said, look, we got to find a better way of helping people understand activation. So they made an activated liquid collagen. Collagen is what gives you all your support. So without it, you would be a blob. But we feel it in our bodies, our joints, our tendons, and our ligaments, but we see it as we look in the mirror and how quickly we repair. So what protandim NRF2 combined with collagen does, it turned on the body's ability to make collagen so you can see the difference, but you also will feel the difference. So the ability of your body to repair the structure of your body vastly increases. And what you'll feel happen in the first month versus the second month versus the third month are drastically different, just like what you started with Eileen. And she would have been happy if she stopped at year 2. But where she added these other components on, it's vastly increased her body's ability to perform and do the things she's doing currently now. Now, they also have the brain liquid axial, and I'm just going to show you a picture of that. This is one of my nephews, not Eileen's daughter, not the little guy I was telling you before. This was his handwriting difference after 2 weeks of being on the axial and the NRF2. When I see that all the time, I don't see handwriting. I see a little guy at 9 that was struggling making friends, that was struggling getting his homework done and focusing, a kid that didn't have any confidence. So, because when the brain performs well, we feel successful in life. When we feel successful in life, we have more confidence. And every time I see this, I think, okay, I'm so grateful for this because now this little guy now is out serving a mission. I have 2 kids that are out serving missions right now because the way their brain is different because of activating their brain's ability to learn and retain. Because we aren't just trying to be a better product, we're activating the cells of the brain to learn, retain, remember, and recall. And this is, who do you know that actually is doing something already to try to help being tired? Because you're tired mentally more than you're physically. There's people that are drinking sodas and drinking energy drinks or coffee or any number of other things to try to feel calm, to try to feel energy. This has the ability to change that and long term protects brain cells so you keep your memory longer. Okay. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the microbiome because this is a huge topic. So I want you to throw in the chat number 2 if you have ever wondered, I think that I have a problem with my gut. Or you've taken things like enzymes or probiotics or prebiotics, or maybe you thought you had parasites, or you've taken a binder. Microbiome is really the rainforest inside your body that controls digestion, assimilation, elimination, and the immune system. When it works well, you don't even think about it. When it doesn't work well, you can't do anything but think about it. Because it ties into being gassy and bloaty and brain fog, getting sick all the time, constipation, diarrhea, and any type of autoimmune process all tied to the microbiome. So this P84 product that Lifevantage has brought, it helps to turn on the body's ability to repair the microbiome. Because here's what happens. First is repair. So once the system is repaired, your microbiome, and it then restores back to normal function, it can then regulate processes. And what that means is think of any of these things. How many of you know people that struggle with digestion, right? They struggle with the immune system problem, or their brain doesn't seem to work right. They've been said that maybe my hormones are off, or I'm inflamed, or maybe it's my gut, or there's this gut-brain axis. Well, it all tied into this microbiome. And if we don't correct it, it turns into a detoxification problem, which leads into autoimmune processes, whether it's Hashimoto's or rheumatoid or even skin disorders like eczema and allergy. You see us even little babies with a skin problem. It's a gut issue. So the P84 addresses that. Instead of looking at one component, it's the whole component from mouth to out. It regulates that. So once you can repair the lining and then restore it back to normal function, then it regulates the processes. And here's how that happens. When your gut's healthy, your body can make peptides. Throw in the chat number 3 if you know of people taking a peptide or doing peptides, whether it's like one for weight loss, like a GLP-1, or whether it's for healing, like a BP157, or any number of the other ones. Did you know your body makes those? And here's the challenge when you take it from the outside in, your body quits making it even more. Most of those peptides are made within your body, in your intestinal tract. But if your body makes it, it can regulate it. And that's what's different about what Lifevantage does. We aren't guessing. We aren't trying to be a better product. We're just saying, hey, let's look at the end effect of a process like gut health, which is the peptides. And if we can activate the peptides, we know we're restoring the process. Now, I get it. The peptide and stuff, I'm going to go through this. These are a few of the ones that they work. And if you want, take a screenshot of this. These are some of the peptides this is addressing. And you'll see it might relate to a lot of weird things you wouldn't think about, like glucogen-like peptide. That's your metabolism and your gut function. There's ones that basically tie into zonular or leaky gut, which is kind of energy and allergies. There's one that relate to oxytocin, which is the one that makes you feel like happy, right? There's one that ties into the blood vessels, like all these different things that tie into your craving, that tie into your moods, that tie into your metabolism. It's all peptide based. But instead of deciding what peptide you need, why don't we just address the gut function? Now, what I love about P84, it's a microbiome system. You don't have to think about it. You do it and your body gets back to normal function. And here's what's been important. In order to do this, without something like this, you need to start eating about 40 to 60 different fruits and vegetables on the daily. That's what makes this really hard. As I read different books like The Plant Paradox and Diabetic Code, I'm like, man, this is overwhelming. Like there's not even any vegetables in the grocery store. Yet we need to put that in our diet if we're going to change this. And doing it this way make it such an easy thing. Now, I'm not going to hit this but one of the big ones we've seen a lot with metabolism was called the GLP-1. Lifevantage made a mind-body GLP-1 to address the metabolism piece. Now, there is a lot of science on each one of these products, but here's what I want you guys to hear from. I want you to hear from a good friend of mine, Dr. Klein. And Dr. Klein is someone that we've known each other a long time. She's followed my dad around teaching for many, many years. And she's been a chiropractor for close to 40 years and helping people. She's taken not only thousands and thousands of hours of different classes to help other people. And I want her to give you her perspective on a couple things. One, the difference she's seen in patients as she's applied these products, and then also in joining forces with me and getting this message out to the people and the impact that that's having. So Dr. Janet, thank you so much for hopping on. I know that I've loved watching you over the years and the friendship we have, and it's even more fun now to get the chance to impact more people together. So if we would kind of share a little bit about what you've seen difference from what we've done for supplementation for years and the difference with activation and what it's been like to be a part of the sharing with other people.
Gladly. Thank you, Dr. Brett. For those that don't know, he's been telling me about Lifevantage for way over 10 years, 11, 12, whatever years now. And last year is when I jumped on board because of that Mind Body GLP-1. And I'm actually thankful they came out with that one product because that's what got me interested enough to say, yes, I'm in. And that one product is what changed my whole mission with Lifevantage, because it made me look at all the other products, and it made me look at so many of the different the activators like we're talking about. And like you said, I've been a chiropractor almost 40 years. I have been exposed to so many good products, and I still do. His dad makes wonderful products, and the supplement industry, there's good ones and bad ones, but we've been used and blessed to be able to use a lot of really, really good things and therapies and you name it. But in this last year, I can honestly say the results that I have been seeing, and I've only been doing it a year. And for like Dr. B and Eileen and all of these other ones that have been on these products for a while now, the stories are endless. That's why I'm staying, because I have not seen the results like I have seen in all of these years being a doctor with active getting to the root cause, activating these genes at a cellular level totally is a game changer. One of my dear friends, what made me change everything is like what Dr. Brimhall and I were saying is we can only see so many people in a day. And right now, I'm almost 64. I have 3 grown boys and 10, well, 1/10 one's on its way, grandkids. I love being a grandma, and I love being active, and I love doing what I'm doing. But there's no way that I could introduce this to the thousands of people that we need to introduce this to have the impact, so that the stories like Eileen's, the stories like little Luke that had his brain not firing and this changed his life. I mean, that's just a tip of the iceberg. But when my good friend Christina came to me, I still get emotional. But when she came to me and said that she was struggling with different health issues, and she works for the mines in a toxic environment, and for years, for a couple of years, she had been to lots of different doctors, and all of these doctors kept telling her, you got to get out of the mine. You got to get out of the mine. It's a toxic environment. It's giving you this autoimmune condition and all of this other arthritis and conditions, and you got to get out of there. But the problem is that when you're raised in a little small town like we are, and you've been working a job for your whole entire life to support your 3 daughters and your family, and that's the only way of living, there's not many other options. And when Lifevantage came into her life, and she started using this at the beginning of June, so here we are, what, 6, 7 months later, and her health turned around. I'm more on a mission to not only help her health turn around, which was our main mission, and our main goal is to get her feeling fantastic and on the road to health, to be able to enjoy her girls and live a life. She was like Alina. It was like she was not wanting, she wasn't caring with the amount of pain she was in and how much longer she lived. That's not right. People shouldn't live like that. We're on a mission to be able to tell people there are things out here like Lifevantage that can activate your cells and change your life. But my mission so much has changed about, it's not a matter of just health, it's about wealth. What can I do to help her grow her business? Because her story has impacted lives in Poland, in UK, in Canada, all over the place. Her story, because of her story, lives are being impacted. So when you can impact lives to help even just one person and spread that and grow a business with Lifevantage, wealth is just as important for your health, so that you're not struggling and you're not stressed and you don't have the anxiety, especially around the holidays where everybody needs some hope and everybody needs some passion and everybody needs to be cheered up. This is why we're here doing what we're doing, Dr. Brimhall. It totally changed my mind from the doctor mindset that I've been for 40 years of just trying to help people get healthy to, no, let's change their lives dramatically and totally just help them have the freedom, have a purpose, and turn their purpose into wealth and have choices in life.
Oh, Janet, you're amazing. I love these stories that we get to share with other people. And here's kind of our ask. Number one, activate yourself. Like I don't really care personally like if you do it with us or if you do it somewhere else. But if you're not where you want to be health-wise, really start looking at this thing called biohacking, nutrigenomic, and activation, and understand that just like Eileen or we talked about, the more you stack, the more benefit it can be. To make sure that number one, you feel like you want to feel, and then for those of you who don't feel anything, right, you don't ever have to feel bad. Now, and we are on a mission to impact life because I never would have met Christina had I not talked with you, and she would still be struggling. And one of the fun things is we got to go to Mexico recently on a trip together, and she had her daughter there. So you get to change lives physically and also financially with this. But I want you guys to know a little bit about the company, who we are, and then I'm going to open up at the end for you guys to ask questions. You can ask any question you want. Okay, so let me reshare this with you. And let me kind of tie some ends together for us, okay? Oh, I'm gonna pop back.
While you're doing that, the science is what got me, but the stories are what's keeping me, because
Yeah,
we have to prove science.
so true.
The company has already proven the science on clinically proven studies. We don't have to say that it can lower oxidative stress by 40%. I think it's been proven, it's patented time after time. Go to PubMed, Harvard, American Heart Association. All of these institutes went crazy thinking there's no way this can work and did their own studies. So we don't have to do that part.
Correct. I do love that. And I have to admit, like, as much as I love science, science is great. People's lives changing is super motivational. So as you see, just as you kind of hear some of these stories, and that's why I want you guys to hear Eileen's story. And there's thousands more like hers. There's thousands more of the, like the little kid I taught you about, because when we share these stories with other people and you share those stories, it allows to impact more lives. So here's just a picture of what happened with people on the mind, some people on the mind body. There are a bunch of different products. We're not going to hit all of them, but I want you to understand that when you're feeling like you feel, it has to do with how well each of your cells function individually, then together, that form systems that then form organs and tissues. If they're not feeling up to par, not communicating correctly, you're not going to feel like you want to feel. Lifevantage is at the forefront of this whole process we call nutrigenomic activation, which is understanding and making product to turn on the cellular switches to get the cell to do what they're designed to do, whether that's a skin cell, a muscle cell, or a brain cell. We're activating those particular cells. Now, you can go through later and ask questions on individual products. Happy to do that with you. But understand you can be a customer or you can be a consultant. Either way, it doesn't matter. A little bit of a price point on the product, different one or the other. And you can turn this into a little business or a big business. And the business is like all of us that I think everybody probably on this call at some point in time has to make money. How you make that money is totally up to you. This is one of the ways I choose to make money because I mean impact people's life and save people money, like we heard Eileen, because she's saved a lot of money because of activation versus just supplementation. Now, I want you to know a little bit about the story of the company. And this says this company has been around now for close to 20 years. It started in 2003. It started network marketing in 2009. It switched distribution models because no one knew what it was, even though the science was there. They're publicly traded on the NASDAQ, so you can check them out. Debt-free, have been for years. And so they can pour more money into research. And they're really big on giving money back to where they go and to make the world a better place. We're focused on doing some huge things, to solving big problems. When people deal with their metabolism, when it deals with their energy, when it deals with the chronic issues they have, that's our focus. And we get to do that through sharing the message and becoming better leaders and developing individuals into leading this group of people on that mission. So you can enroll with the pack, and then you can decide what products you want to do with the stack. But I want you to understand, just real quick, take a screenshot of this. Being a public traded company, there's real money to be made if it's what you want. I remember going to chiropractic school years ago, and I really didn't have an idea of how much money was possible for me. Like I just didn't. I just knew my dad made a good living. I knew that I wanted to do that. I also didn't realize how much it was going to cost me to get there, right? With this, you have a wide open book to know, okay, you can make as little as a few dollars a month, or you can make into hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. It's all based on how much product you help move throughout the world. And so I'm on a mission to help more people like Eileen. Like I want to help people like Eileen or other people that get involved in their health in a big way to maybe be that grandma they've always dreamed of being. But I'm also on a mission to help people like my sister Sherda, who's a single mom, has taken care of herself for a really long time, doesn't really have retirement. And I want to work with her and others to build a retirement doing something that they love. And with this, we can do both. Because I have to tell you that no matter where you are in life, I want you to have the best life possible. And so I want you to ask yourself this question, especially at the end of the kind of close to the end of the year here, right? Um, and Warren Buffett kind of said that, well, I said you must position yourself in front of a growth curve, not in the middle or at the end. But the inception and really the window of opportunity is always closing, so work that there's no tomorrow. And I would think about that phrase in two ways. One, when it comes to health, like if you feel like you're going the wrong direction in health, do something different. Do something different. If you haven't tried activation, my ask is that you go at it. Don't try it, but do it. Know that the effects are cumulative over time and give it a fair chance. Because if you're in a bad way, it's going to take a while to repair it. So it's going to first have to repair, then it restores, then it regulates. It's going to take time. My second ask is if you don't do this, do something. Okay. And if the life you're in right now is not the one you want or design, find the community of people that have what you want and work with them on that. That's my ask because I look at my own kids. I've told them this since they were little. I want you to find a passion for what you do. I want you, and hopefully it's doing something good. Okay. And I want you to find a way to make money while you sleep because that then gives you options. As a dad, I'm a doctor, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, but as a dad and a provider, my biggest stress was always, is everybody healthy? Is everybody happy? And are we going to be financially okay? And that to me is always what's driven me in this business to help more people. And what I can promise you is this, the products are real. The science is real. Get back to the person that invited you this and just have a conversation with them on, hey, you know what? I really want to know a little more about this and this product and what should be my expectations be. If you haven't tried that PUD4 yet, and maybe you're invited specifically on that, that will drastically change your microbiome. And when you can get your gut healthy, everything else changes, but you want to give it a chance. And if you're like, hey, I'm curious, could I be a part of this community? Then let's have a conversation on what that looks like too. Because the only thing that will change this world is you. You change your world changes. So I'm grateful that each of you guys have come here tonight. I'm gonna end the recording and then I'm gonna open up to have if you guys specific questions, and that way you can ask anything you want because there are probably some that we don't want recorded. So give me 1 second.